Είναι μεγάλη ικανοποίηση να βρίσκομαι εδώ και θα σας πω γιατί. Για πολλά χρόνια προσπάθησα ως κήρυκας να προσελκύσω ξένους επενδυτές στην Ελλάδα, κυρίως για το κομμάτι του real estate. Και για πολλά χρόνια, θα το πω λίγο εκλαϊκευμένα, έτρωγα πόρτα στο εξωτερικό και βλέπω η Ελλάδα τώρα έχει πολύ δρόμο να διανύσει μέχρι να μας αφορά σαν επενδυτές. Οπότε αντιλαμβάνεστε ότι επειδή τα τελευταία 2 χρόνια περίπου έχει αλλάξει αυτό σημαντικά, χαίρομαι πάρα πολύ να βλέπω ανθρώπους οι οποίοι έρχονται από το εξωτερικό, εμπιστεύονται τη χώρα μας, κρίνοντας είτε τα macro είτε τα microeconomics, βλέποντας το potential και το added value, την υπεραξία που μπορεί να δώσει η Ελλάδα στις επενδύσεις του real estate και να κάνουν πολλά και διαφορετικά πράγματα. Και επειδή η οικοδομή και η κατασκευή ήταν πάντοτε η ατμομηχανή της ελληνικής οικονομίας, τώρα με ένα λίγο διαφορετικό twist, δηλαδή τα λεφτά δεν είναι πλέον από την Ελλάδα για την Ελλάδα, είναι κυρίως από το εξωτερικό για τη χώρα μας, δίνοντας δυναμική και δίνοντας ευκαιρίες και εργασία και ανάπτυξη σε πολλούς και διαφορετικούς κλάδους και σε πολλούς και διαφορετικούς επαγγελματίες. Ένα απτό παράδειγμα ενός τέτοιου επενδυτή που έχει έρθει στη χώρα εδώ και ένα ικανό διάστημα και αποδεικνύει την εμπιστοσύνη του κάνοντας διαφορετικές επενδύσεις είναι ο Chelhot, τον οποίο και καλωσορίζω. Andrea, welcome.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this invitation, and what a beautiful crowd. Today we're going to talk about foreign investment in real estate in Greece and what foreign investors are looking for. And I'm going to do a macroeconomic presentation on Greece and Greek real estate market to show the attractiveness of the Greek real estate market for foreign investors. DNC Holdings is a private investment company that invests in real estate in America, in Canada, and in Greece. And we're gonna talk now about the fundamentals of Greece for foreign investors. First of all, if you look at the financial crisis that took place 2009-2010, the budget deficit in 2009 was 10% of GDP. In 2016, it has become a surplus of 3.6%. In 2017, 3.9%. 2018, the numbers did not come out yet, but we think that it's going to be 3.5%, and it's going to be the same for 2019. A lot of people talk about the debt of the Greek government that is estimated at around 175% of GDP. However, 80% of this debt is controlled by institutions, European institutions. Greece doesn't pay interest for the next 10 years, and after 10 years or 15 years, they start paying interest at a rate equal to ECB discount rate plus 1%. I remind you that ECB discount rate is now at 0%. So if you calculate the net present value of the Greek government debt is no more than 40% of GDP. I'm going to give you another example that another country that has 175% or 180% of debt to GDP, which is Lebanon, and they pay about 13 to 14% interest every year. That means every 5 years the level of debt doubles. In Greece is the opposite. When you have an interest rate that is much below the nominal GDP growth rate of a country, that means that the debt is declining gradually over the time. GDP growth. We hit the bottom of GDP growth rate, I think, in 2012, 2013. It was minus 3.2% in 2013. Now, in 2017, we reached 1.7%, 2018, 1.9%, and 2019, we are expecting 2.3%. I want to remind you something that in Europe, for 2019, looking at the leading indicators of the economies of Europe, Germany is in recession, France is in recession, and Italy is in recession. Greece is one of the few European countries in 2019 that is registering a positive growth and a strong positive growth. Employment. Unemployment rate reached in 2013 28%. In 2019 we are at 18.5%, and we are projecting to go to as low as 14% in 2023. what is even more important for the economic fundamentals of Greece is the 10-year bond rate. The 10-year bond rate was at 13% in 2012-2013. Actually, Greece defaulted once on its bonds in 2010-11 when they did the program. The bond rate was still high at 13%, 14% in 2013-2014, and since then it has been gradually going down, and now we are at 3.4%, which is quite very competitive. The housing market. Now, the property transactions in Greece have gone up a lot over the last 2 years. There are two reasons for that. The first reason is foreign investment, of course, but the second reason that people are not paying attention to is that Greek homeowners are shifting their properties ownership from personal ownership to a company ownership. Well, they learned that we can minimize their taxes by doing this strategy. Greek banks have started to extend housing loans, but it's still very, very limited. The problem with the banks is that they still did not solve the non-performing loans. I expect that once we solve or we allow banks to unload these non-performing loans on the market, the credit cycle will start again. Because if you have credit flows going into the economy and the economy is such in a sweet spot, then the prices, the valuation prices of these properties will start to go up and go up significantly. Let me show you something about Athens, how attractive it is. On this chart, the first chart on the left, you can see on the right hand, Athens, on average, the price per square meter was 1,400 euros. It is one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest European city in Europe. And net foreign investment in the real estate market has gone up from 0.2 billion euros in 2010 to almost 3.6 billion euros in 2017. That's a significant increase. And this is foreign direct investment only in the real estate market. Tourism. As you can see from the chart, tourism is also expanding at a very interesting growth rate. Greece has attracted more than 30 million tourists in 2018. There are conflicting numbers here. Some people say 30 million, some other institutions they say 34 to 35 million. We are expecting about 38 to 39 million tourists in 2019, given the fact that we see already very strong growth in tourist arrivals at the International Airport of Athens. 78% of these tourists are Europeans, and the rest are scattered between the US and Middle East. Tourism is now making about 20% of GDP. A few years ago, when we used to have about 10, 11 million tourists per year, it used to be about 12 to 15% of GDP. Now we are planning to go from 20% of GDP to 23 to 25% of GDP over the next 10 years. The next slide shows you the attractiveness of the Athens market for hotels, boutique hotels, and for tourism. If you look at the table on the left, you can see that occupancy rate in Athens is about 81%, which is the third highest in Europe. And the average rate per night in Athens is about 105 euros, which is extremely competitive compared to other European cities. As you can see here in this table, we are at 105 euros in Athens. Let's take, for example, Paris, 214, Berlin, 95, Munich, 150, Rome, 150, Amsterdam, 150, and Barcelona, 140. You see that we are extremely competitive, and this is why Athens is attracting a lot of tourism these days. Now, for a foreign investor like my company, let me tell you what we're looking for. We're looking for economic stability. We have that in Greece. We're looking for financial stability. we have it also. We're looking for social stability. Actually, what is so attractive about Greece is that it's such a homogeneous society. And also we are looking for ease of doing business. And at the end, looking for yield. Now, I'm gonna stop at ease of doing business. Lots of people, they complain about the difficulty of doing business in real estate in Greece. I agree in some part, and I disagree in some other parts. What I agree with is the lack of infrastructure, especially in the rural areas where you don't have the necessary storage system, water system, or even electricity system. There is limited access to funding given the ongoing capital control situation that is being kind of solved now, but also the non-performing loans of banks. There are also the barriers of language and business culture. However, I'm gonna say something. Executing a real estate transaction in Athens is much more easy here than to execute a real estate transaction in Paris or in London. It takes much less time to have a transaction executed in Athens than in these cities that I have mentioned. Now, let me give you some examples of what our company does in Athens and in the Greek islands. We have invested long time ago in Mykonos. We have about 4 properties in Mykonos. We invested since 2008 till about 2014. We bought properties in 2008, but then we saw that the market took a very big hit in 2013, 2014, so we took the opportunity and we bought other properties. Then in 2016, 17, we saw that the AirBnB market is becoming quite attractive in Athens, even though that it's posing lots of challenges these days. So we went into the AirBnB market in Athens and we bought a number of apartments. That's an example in Koronaki. We bought a 140 square meters apartment. We redecorated it, refurnished it. The total investment was about 400,000 euros. The income yield is about 10%, and the IRR over the next 5 to 7 years can be as high as 25 to 30%. The other investment that we are working on, and we are in the process of getting the building, we actually signed the agreement, is a boutique hotel in downtown Athens. It's an historical building from 1935. I cannot show the picture right now because for disclosure conditions. The capex, this one we are renting it for 20 years. The capex is about 1.2 million euros. The potential net income yield on capex is about 25%. We are planning to, we have a lease of 20 years. We are planning to operate the hotel for the next 4 to 5 years, and then to get out of our investment by bringing a international hotel chain. Another investment that we are doing is now we are going into Antiparos. Antiparos is a very interesting island. The price for land is quite cheap compared to other Kyklaris islands, and there is a very high demand for summer holidays in Antiparos. So this example is a land that we have purchased in Antiparos, and we are purchasing other lands next to it. The buildable area is 300 square meters. The total equity investment is between 600 and 700,000 euros, and the net income yield is about 7.5 to 8%, and the IRR over the next 5 to 7 years investment horizon can be around 15 to 17%. Current market value of a house like that in Antiparos is about 4,500 euros a square meter in today's market prices, and it costs us about, let's say, maximum 2,000, no, I would say 2,500 euros per square meter. Notice that all these numbers that I gave you, especially the income yield and the IRR, are not leveraged, meaning that if you have access to funding from Greek banks, these results could be much more interesting than what I'm showing you. So I completed my presentation, and I just wanted to show you how attractive Greece is for foreign investors, and examples, live examples of what foreign investors are looking to invest in the Greek real estate market. Thank you very much, And now I'm ready to take some questions before we start the conversation with Marcel.
Let's have a discussion and then we can take questions from the crowd.
Shall I sit here?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
So, in my introduction in Greek before, I said that I have been a preacher of people coming to Greece and investing in previous years, but I was not so successful because Greece was not that attractive, especially in the years between 2010 and 2016 maybe. So my first question is, when did you first invest in Greece?
Well, before we talk about the fundamentals that, or we discuss about the fundamentals that we saw, no one would come to invest in Greece if Greece was not one of the most beautiful countries in the world. You have,
Thank you for that.
I live here for 22 years, and you have one of the most beautiful, or if not the most beautiful countries in the world. So that's already the condition to come. But then we go into the fundamentals. So your question was, when did I invest in Greece? Well, I invested the first time in 2000. I bought my first land in 2006.
Okay.
But it was not for investment purposes or like whatever,
It was just as an end user.
It was for end user, it was for my family, my kids, and you cannot make a mistake investing in real estate in Greece.
Okay.
From a beauty point of view.
From a beauty point of view. That's great, that's good to know. Coming back to your investor hat, when did you return to Greece and did your first investment?
2013, 2014.
Okay.
This is where we went to buy 3 properties again in Mykonos. It was at very, very interesting price. We bought, I think, 3.7 thousand euros a square meter, and it has view about 230 degrees, and now it's valued at around 8,000 a square meter.
Right. So between then and now, it has been a good 6 years maybe. What would you say has changed within this year?
Well, when we bought in Mykonos in 2013-14, that was a big risk. I mean, the country we were not sure we're gonna exit the euro, we're gonna exit the EU, the banks are gonna go bankrupt again because they got busted many times. So we kind of relaxed to see what's going on. And then in 2016, as I said, we started to see that the Athens market is starting to be quite interesting. We didn't want to venture ourselves in boutique hotels yet because we were not 100% sure. So we deployed a bit of money in AirBnB apartments that we're gonna exit anyway because the AirBnB market in Athens is gonna change, and now the industry is shifting from AirBnB to boutique hotels. If you want, we can talk about why.
Sure. So essentially, going back to what you said, keeping obviously natural beauty and the position of Greece and the climate, which is a serious factor for coming here. Number 2, I would say that it's the risk minimization that brought you back here and that you feel that right now is a good time to invest. And we see that investing in Greece has become quite a trend in the past, let's say, 1 to 2 years, in much more massive numbers than what it used to be a few years ago. Do you think there will be a peak to that? And when do you foresee the peak coming?
Well, it all depends on the facilities that the government is offering to foreign investors. I mean, it's very difficult to predict the peak, but in some areas like Santorini or Mykonos, the peak is already there. Because the yield is now, I think, 2.5–3% in these islands, and I'm not surprised. Now, if you go to other islands like Antiparos, like Dia or Paro, you can have many interesting opportunities with yields around 8–10% and IRR in the mid-teens. Athens is very promising. Athens, there are neighborhoods in Athens that are going to become, in my opinion, the next Soho of Europe. I mean, if you look at Keramikos, for example, you can get a square meter for, 1,002, 1,003, non-renovated. You put another 400, 500, it's renovated. And then you have a superb apartment in the upcoming party area of Europe at 2,000 euros a square meter. If you go to Berlin, can you get less than 6? I don't think so. If you go to Rome, 8. Paris, 10, 11. So valuation is very, very attractive.
So there's still a lot of potential.
A lot.
It's good to know that. I understand that you invest in various assets ranging from apartments, as we saw, all the way to boutique hotels and land perhaps on the islands. So out of all these, which one do you think is the more interesting and has, let's say, more potential, and at the same time, which is the least difficult to manage and complete?
The least difficult is the Airbnb. Now, I think that from what I hear and what I live through my experience of investing in Airbnbs, this market is going to start to be regulated by the Greek government, especially the municipality of Athens. I think that they're going to be zoning the Airbnb market, and they're going to limit the number of days that you can rent per year. Unless if you have, like, you know, a real estate investment company that owns many apartments and it's your main job. And also there are limitations for the quality of living for the Airbnb. I mean, from my experience, I can understand the people who live in the same building, that this building, residential building, becomes like a hotel. You cannot do that. So this is the easiest thing to do. Now, the juiciest investment is the boutique hotel. And I'm gonna tell you why. In Athens, there are about 6-7 five-star hotels in downtown Athens, and there's no more land to build huge hotels. And if you notice, lots of these big hotels are going towards Singru. So you drive down Singru, you see hotels. In downtown Athens, you want to be very close to the touristic attractions and also to the nightlife. So over there is no land, but there are plenty of empty buildings that need to be renovated, very beautiful buildings, and especially the neoclassical buildings. If you walk around Athens and you look around what's the beauty of these buildings, imagine how much supply this city can offer. So the juiciest investment is in boutique hotels because there's a demand, and also there are many nice opportunities buildings that you can buy, or you can rent. Actually, I don't know if I mentioned it, we are now working also as a project manager of a boutique hostel in Syria.
That's a very interesting concept, and I was about to ask you about that.
They are already two. It's very preliminary, but we might succeed.
What is very important, and I would like to stress that, is that now tourists that come in, okay, we have, let's say, various categories of tourists that visit Greece. We have the high-end, which go to the resorts and the five-star hotels, and then we have, let's say, a more young, perhaps, or a more versatile crowd that would be the client of the hostel, which hostel is not a typical youth hostel. It's something more interesting. And what they seek is not just to visit the town and spend the night at the hotel, they seek the whole experience, which is very important, especially for architects, because their contribution to that could be major, in the sense that people come here, they want to taste the food, they want to live the life. Some of them want to have like a co-working space so they can essentially do their work from the distance. We have digital nomads who now no longer live in one place, but they move from one place to the other regularly. So I think what you will be offering in that hostel will be something like a total experience of Greece, let's say.
Okay. Let me talk a bit about two segments of tourism in the market. The first segment is a very high end. These people, they want two things. They want privacy and total privacy. And they want security. Hotels might offer security that they want, but they surely don't offer privacy. So in the very high end, we notice that the tourism market is shifting from hotels to villas. And this is why the villas in Mykonos and Santorini, they are expanding at such a fast pace. There is also the millennials. And I love these people. They are very, very creative. They are very free. However, they don't have an address. We don't know where they live. So what they do is they go from one country to another, visiting one city to another. They are nomads, as you say, And we need to offer them 2-3 things. First of all, comfort. Second, working space, common working space. And third, an opportunity to meet with other interesting people. So it's kind of like brainstorming in a very beautiful, nice, and efficient working space. So this project that is gonna come out in the next few months, it responds to all these conditions. So it's gonna be a very well designed, very nice to be in, and lots of people, interesting people from the same age group and the same mentality to meet over there.
That's great. That's great news, and we look forward to see that. One last question from me, and then we can ask the audience to put forward their thoughts and their questions. We have an abundance of highly skilled architects, young architects in Greece, many of them with degrees coming from the US or Italy or the UK, with very open-minded and very versatile. And I would like to know from the investor's point of view, how could they be part of this, let's call it regeneration of Greece in terms of architecture and construction, and obviously attracting people and tourism? And
well, we noticed, and actually my friend here, Nino, is our main architect, is that young architects are extremely talented and they have such a beautiful taste. Now the old generation architects, I don't know, I never worked with them, but the young architects are very, very efficient and they are very talented. And something that I would like to say, but I'm kind of a bit shy to say it, but I will say it anyway, is that they are very cost efficient. Okay. Meaning, like, you know, if you compare a Greek interior designer with his talent and his taste and a Greek architect to an architect coming from France or Italy, it's about 1/5 of the price.
Perhaps this is an incentive for local architects to...
And what we notice also these days, that you cannot find a Greek architect.
Okay, that's
because they are all busy. They are all fully occupied.
That is very good.
So that's very good for the industry.
And one last question that again has to do with the architects, and it's been on my mind for a long time. Actually, we had a minor discussion about it last year at the Architect Show. I feel very strongly about, I am sort of half-minded in the sense that I want to see my country developing and attracting more people and quality tourism and having more developments in that sense. But also at the same time, I feel very strongly about preserving the natural beauty and traditional architecture, especially outside the urban zone. So, from that perspective, I would like to know, how do you feel about the architects working perhaps in more rural projects on the islands or...
Can I show you a picture?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Wait. Okay. This is Antiparos.
Okay.
Okay. Now, to answer your question, in the rural areas, be it, I know mostly about Kyklades Islands. First of all, there are zoning laws. So, for example, in Mykonos, you cannot build on a land that is less than 4,000 square meters. So that means, unless if you want to cheat. And on 4,000 square meters with the new licenses, you cannot build more than 200 square meters. So that means that you have a land of 4,000 square meters, your neighbor has a land of 4,000 square meters, you can barely see him because it's so far. Now, of course, with the old licenses, what they used to do, they used to take a land of 4,000 square meters and build 700, 800 square meters, but that was illegal. But now this has stopped. So already the rules and regulations of building in rural areas in Greece are already protected. The rural areas are already protected by these rules and regulations from the Greek government and the Greek municipalities. And also, I'm showing this picture because we spent about 5 to 6 months to get the permit for this house, because we wanted to respect the last single detail of what the municipality of Antiparos and Paros and Naxos are telling us to do. You cannot imagine how attention they are to the details. Even the sizes of the windows have to be under the regulations and specifications of the municipality. So your question is a very good question, but however, we have the systems here to protect the rural areas from kind of like ad hoc construction. Now, what happened before the crisis, unfortunately, we cannot correct it. But now, from now on, as I said, it took us about 5-6 months to get the permit for that, because we needed to follow the perfect, the right rules and specifications.
Great, that is good to know. Thank you, Andrea. Έχουμε ερωτήσεις από το κοινό. Θα χαρούμε πολύ να ακούσουμε την άποψή σας. Αν έχετε κάποια παρατήρηση, κάποια ερώτηση, κάποια προσθήκη. Παρακαλώ.
Especially in the center of Athens, there are many abandoned buildings, mostly because of too many owners. Many of them are not even alive anymore.
Many of them
are not even alive anymore. So from your experience from other countries, what should be done in such a case? Because we have a city with many abandoned buildings, old buildings that become ghosts and are not good for the hygiene nor the economy.
What we notice in Athens, there is this example, but there are other examples that are quite annoying. Let's talk about the neoclassical buildings first. Okay, these are such beautiful buildings, and half of them, or 70-75% of them, you look at them, they are empty. The question is not the ownership of this building. The problem is when you go to the municipality and you tell them, okay, I'm going to buy this building. What do you want to do with this building? I'm going to do a hotel. And then they impose on you all sorts of conditions. It's not feasible. And it's a shame that these buildings are left empty like that. Neoclassical buildings, owned by family, people who are dead, whatever. This is already a problem with the municipality. The other problem that we are facing is that we come to a building, and this is kind of a bit weird. When we come to a building and we want to buy this building, suddenly we make an offer, and then the price goes up by 40-50%. I mean, this is not serious. You put the building on the market, you wanted the price, the buyer comes and puts the price or negotiates the price with you, and then the seller, because he sees that you have the money, he increases his price. And like, okay, we started at that price, you cannot like go to the other price. I think that situation is happen much more than people who dead or like, you know, big family, because you can always gather the big family to sign the deal. The first land that I bought in Mykonos, we signed 17 contracts.
Wow.
17 contracts. We stayed 3 hours in the notary office. So that is feasible. We have time, we have orexi, as we say in English. But to go and convince the municipality to change the law for the neoclassical buildings, it's a big situation.
So is this what you mentioned, what you meant when you mentioned before some barriers of business culture?
It's not bias of business culture, this one. It's bias of bureaucracy. Bureaucracy and inefficiency.
Do we have any more questions? Okay. Andrea, thank you so much for your interesting views. I truly wish all investors are like you with orexi. Σας ευχαριστούμε πολύ.